Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the last of the 200s, show number 299. Yes, we have been that consistent every week we're in our seventh year, actually. Um, whoa, who's that? We're being hacked, Dean.
Oh
My
my goodness.
God.
Say it isn't so.
How'd you get on this show, Missy? Google t-shirt queen showing off you showed up at the Google Plex. Come on. Went to the Google store.
I did, like,
I know, right?
10 years ago, but
Yeah, well, yeah, but I could tell by the logo. It's like, that's one of those logos that you can actually tell when people went there because the logo, of course, changes over time. And it's like I have a T-shirt and somebody says, "Oh, dude, you were back there when it was cool." I'm like, "What?" Says your shirt, because I had one of the ones from 2001, and it was very blockish, very Times Roman at the time, and I had actually been given it because we used to go to the conferences. They're now SMX conferences. I forget what they were called before, but Google used to throw a party, the Google party, and you go to the campus and you could talk to the engineers one-on-one, like you're all just partying, drinking beer and stuff. And they gave you T-shirts, and I didn't know at the time. I was like, throw it in the pile, like, okay, I got a T-shirt. Now it's like, oh, I have a T-shirt.
it's actually it's a really nice T-shirt. But when I went out there, it was when they were rolling out Google Glass. You remember? So I got
yeah. Before everybody thought they were glass holes, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to try
cool.
those on, and it was really, like I have pictures of me with, Google Glass on. So that's like that. And there was like, they had this room. It's like a small room, maybe like the size of my office, but you could go, it was like a map, but it was a 360 map that was built around you. And you could like go anywhere. You could go look at your house, and then you could see everything like around your house.
Back when my other claim to fame picture is I have a picture of me carrying one of the Google cameras when they first started rolling out maps. The big back breast with the bulb above your head. I got that picture.
Yeah.
Wow. But what was cool was way back then, they thought it was pretty neat that in the initial lobby there was a screen that was showing in real time the search queries, and it looked very much like the Matrix. But the thing you notice, you look and say, that's a lot of porn requests. It's like that's what people use mostly the internet back then. Not now, of course, but back then porn was a big thing, and now it's like there's websites for that stuff. But it was kind of neat for that. And then of course the thing I thought was fascinating was in all of the buildings, all the walls had those whiteboards on them.
Yeah,
and people would talk about this. They put their problems up just for people to walk by and see, and they some people go and look, and they just would change something or add something to it, and it might solve the problem. I thought that was brilliant back then. It's still brilliant, but I just like they were the first to have done that kind of stuff. I'm like, they were so cool. Now, and then of course the game rooms and all the other stuff. But the last time I was there,
bikes on campus, you can take around to different buildings. You can like go take these little bikes on site, and you're like,
yeah, very colorful bikes, I might add. They're kind of like, whoo, can't lose that one in a crowd. But it's funny because I was talking to one of the guys that was doing the last show. I was there, I don't know, 3 years ago or something. Of course, for those who don't know, is that when you're there, they offer laundry services. The rest, the cafeteria is freaking off the chart.
There's a dental office there.
Hmm?
There was a dental office on campus.
So, and at first you think, how amazing is that they're offering all this? And the guy was, after a while talking with him, he's like, yeah, that's just a prison. I'm like, what? He says, yeah, because
they just don't want you to ever go home.
Right. Because if you're there and you can get stuff done, then you don't need to go home and interrupt your work cycle. And he says, everyone comes relying on, because it's so hard to find places to live in the area anyway, that because of that, you stay there all the time. Some people just sleep under their desk, kind of thing.
Look at that service.
Did you just ask her for more coffee?
Yeah, that was my Uber driver. And
I'm going to call her up after this.
Yeah,
say,
right?
You were told you were on the show.
My Uber Eats, little nectar of the gods.
Oh gosh. Anywho, okay. Just since we're talking about frivolous, fun things for just a moment, what about Robert's stat that he threw out on our little chat dialogue? The freaking digital time spent thing. What did he say? It was okay. eMarket reported in 2020, U.S. adults spent 7 hours and 50 minutes daily consuming digital media. it compared to 6 hours and 49 minutes in 2019, which is still just, it's a 15%. That's just, wow. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost 8 hours a day. You're in front of this stuff.
But does that break it down? I don't know.
No.
He didn't share an article where that.
Yeah, he sent the link over. Let me see.
Well, we spent
I'll pull the link in
doing
so we
this.
have it.
Like, how much of that is work? I mean, if you think about how much time I spent sitting at work, does that count? Or is that
I guess
outside
it
of-
probably does because it's counting for the time. They probably asked the question directly about. No. Hold on.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Amazon, Disney. They're showing some particular stats. Here, I'm just going to take the whole link. Sorry for the UTM string. It's easier hack for me just to copy and paste it than it is to scrub that off real quick. So they're just going to get erroneous traffic tracking.
Yeah.
Hey, look at all these people who looked at it all at once.
Right. Out of
We
1
had
hour,
a great article.
2020.
But it's just it's incredible because I guess we're probably going to have to make the designation between watching entertainment computer stuff like Netflix and Hulu stuff compared to internet. Yeah, the what I'm doing on the computer stuff, because watching Hulu to me is not watching computer. That's just the medium of availability for this stuff now. You know, before it was broadcast TV. It's still broadcast TV, but it's now just basic internet.
Well, it does break out. So it breaks out social network time. So of that time, 1 hour and 5 minutes is social networking. And then it breaks it down between Facebook, Insta, Snapchat, TikTok, and Twitter.
Dang.
And
What's
Facebook
TikTok
still,
look like? I'm not there on that. What is TikTok? What are they saying for TikTok?
it looks like TikTok, Snapchat are about the same in recent years, aligned with Twitter. Facebook still is much higher proportionate than I thought it would be.
Well, given that, I mean, if you think about it logistically, we were limited in our personal interactions, obviously. And so then now you had to find other mediums. And unless you were calling someone on a phone, which for some generations is not the first choice option for people, or you got on Zoom or some meeting, which was a little bit more structured, like, okay, I'll call you on Zoom or whatever, and I'll talk to you on the screen. Facebook was probably the most contiguous medium of like, okay, I can always throw something at them on Facebook and they're going to get back to me eventually and or see it or whatever, or message people when they want to share stuff and things like that. So I can see where Facebook would probably maintain, because we talked about this earlier in the show in the early part of last year. Facebook went up. They were declining in signups towards the November of 19, and then they started picking up and then went way big at the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic first hit. So Facebook saw that surge of, okay, we got to find some way of communicating with people still. So I'm going to go back on Facebook and start talking to people or sign up with it. So we did see that in that traffic. So image, I'm going to load your image for that.
I'm always amazed with my iPhone. On Sunday morning, it sends me a notification that says you spent on average this amount of time per day on your phone. And every time I see that, I look at that, I'm like, no way, you got to be kidding. And yet, week after week, I'm like, oh, crap.
Hey, Adele.
I spend even more than they say, because at night I have a speaker in my pillow and I let it whisper me sweet nothings while I sleep. So in case I wake up, my mind doesn't take over. I can just listen to somebody else. And
Okay. I have a new mission in life. I'm going to hack your phone and just be subliminal messaging you all night.
I've been listening to Dan Cockerell, the Disney guy, on his podcast lately. It's been a lot of fun.
My wife, I bought her.
I'm looking for. Maybe I'll start listening to your podcast instead.
See, yes. I bought my wife a headband that has the little earbuds in it, in Bluetooth, so that she could be resting comfortably to watch. Because she'll wake up, and what puts her to sleep is either like the TV in the background or something. And she hasn't used them yet. I'm like, why? She's like, I don't really need them. I'm like, okay, well, that's one present that worked out really well.
I bought it with the headband. And I took it off the headband because it gives me night sweats and hot flashes. And I just put it in the pillow, the little flat speaker in the pillow.
Oh, I was about to say, do you like purple? But yeah, I found it amazing the consumption of everything. And I guess I do think that they're probably going to have to make the segmentation of entertainment viewing, because Hulu and Netflix and everything has changed so much to what they used to call cord cutters, but now it's not cord cutters. It's just literally the medium of choice. Local broadcast and cable is just not really there anymore. I mean, it is, but it's not what everyone goes to. That's not the thing. Like, oh, when you move into a house, you got to go hook up your cable. A lot of people are just worried about getting the internet hooked up. And from there, that's when they determine what they're going to do for their entertainment medium. That being said, from an OTT perspective, did anybody see that Vimeo just released their OTT programming for advertisement? I'm on the beta. I'm really happy about that. It's
no surprise.
Yeah. Well, sitting on the doorstep of their company office does have benefits. Please let me in. Please let me in. I'll buy you coffee. Yeah, it's pretty neat, because I really think, given the saturation of some channels right now, like social media and so forth, and the potential first party, third party cookie stuff that we're dealing with and everything, OTT is probably going to be our strongest suit, because it doesn't need to worry about first and third party cookies. You're literally taking first party cookie information of viewership and using that to target them. So you're using the platform people have already chosen to interact with. And from that, you're able to designate what you want to put in front of them. So it's not a circumnavigation. It's just it's already built like that. So
what
it's not
does
really
OTT stand for?
over the top.
Oh,
I don't know who came up with that. Really, honestly, I thought they would be a lot more technical, like, transitory electronic transmission, something. It's like, no, it's not. It's just over the top. It's the ability to advertise on these channels like Google TV, or yeah, just give me YouTube TV. Excuse me, I think Google TV because I call it that, but YouTube TV, ATTV Now, Sling. Even Netflix and Hulu and stuff. Hulu has a beta that I was in and out of. They were so nice. They got me started on it, and then they said, "I'm sorry, but we now qualify that in a minimum of $10,000 be spent until we broaden the campaign. We have to spend your kind of like, anyway." So that was just me. But those channels, when you watch them, when you watch a show, there's sometimes there'll be a commercial, and then there'll be a gap going, "This Zen moment brought to you by," or commercial in progress, and it just plays this repetitive music. Those are slots that you can buy, and they're really affordable. I mean, like, really affordable in the world of, like, hundreds of dollars kind of thing, or sometimes less, depending upon what you're advertising for. And you can very much target them, not just geographically, but demographically. Not just who happens to be watching the show, but you choose demographically what you want people to be represented in, and it chooses the shows and the times of day that they know those types of people are watching at what time. And it's really cool. So I'm a big fan of it right now, because right now I think it's a matter not of targeting the demand of some people as it is just making them aware that they should come to your destination. I think everyone's got to kind of notch up their perspective of conversation. It's not about here's our room and rate and dates and here's our amenity basis and all that stuff. It's more like come here instead of there, because everybody wants to go somewhere.
Yeah.
What's the targeting like on the back end? I mean, how, like, have you gotten that deep into it?
Yeah. I mean, well, no, not for Vimeo yet. I mean, I'm on it, but it's just I got the account created and I haven't actually run a campaign on it yet. It's just built and they're approving it. But when I was with Hulu, pretty much it was very similar to if you've done Twitter, because they ask different questions than Facebook. Music genres, types of movie genres, action, adventure, romantic. There's those kind of categories of information as well. And then also demographics, age, genders, ethnicities, if you're interested, geographies, time of days. You can pick all these types of things. And of course, it modifies the bidding process if you're looking for prime time versus off time. Demographics for high density markets obviously have to, they calculate audiences based on the geographies as well. And that creates your bid cycle. And it's pretty much after that, the same as what everyone's familiar with, budget and bid. And how well you want to rank.
What are your KPIs on that? Because obviously you can't measure clicks on it. With one exception. I'll come back to that. There's one exception that comes to mind. But is it primarily eyeballs, impressions that you're measuring as your exposure?
What we had done, two things. One is I know you're going to think about QR codes. I have not used QR codes yet.
Okay.
I am going to, but I haven't yet. because to me that is a cool, easy way of doing it. And I'm seeing it more and more in local advertising anyway. What we did was we offered a special promotion by name. So if they went to where we said for them to go, look for a promotion, whatever it was,
put in
and
promo
that way we
code.
would know that that was that purpose, that they went to that promotion. That was the only market channel we had put that promotion name in.
Yeah.
So any traffic related to that promotion was related to that campaign for that. But yes, and QR codes I think is going to be a much, as people get more and more used to that, because I'm seeing in local news now, rather than telling people to go like these local news places, oh, download our app, they just put a QR code up. They don't even try to tell you the link anymore. It's just scan this and download the app. Just like we talked about, Dean, when we're in China. That's what we saw all the time. It's like,
That's right.
there's a QR code for everything. Scan it, do it. Let's not worry about the Bitleys. So
It's remarkably easy.
Yeah, I think it's just, I thought it was going to grow before and then it fizzled, but I really think that we're not going to go back to not embracing the QR code. Now that people have tried it and seen how easy it is with menus, they're going to move to other things.
all I know is I can't make a QR code this guy with my window on.
What do you
People
see?
can fast forward through the ads.
What's that?
What are you going to do about, there's always I fast forward through every ad that I can, unless
If
it's
you
on,
record, some platforms allow it,
and
some platforms don't. Like Google
like
TV,
YouTube
Google
TV, I think there's certain
YouTube TV
things.
doesn't allow you to push.
Yeah.
Prime doesn't allow you to push. Sling doesn't allow you to push. They don't allow you to push through the ad, or if you try to push through the ad, it just goes back to the ad and runs it before you go to wherever you're going to forward. So but for those, and I haven't seen this yet, but what I've been understanding and what they've been talking about in the dialogue is if you choose platforms and or services that allow push through the commercials, your bid price cost goes down because you may get the lesser exposure. I haven't experienced it yet to know if that's the case. I haven't built an ad on something that has that capability yet. All the ads I've built are on platforms that they make you go through the ad.
What have you seen as your engagement rate? And there's how many engagements have you had? People that have, I don't want to call it a click, that's not the right word, but they've gone to that promo page that you were talking about. And how much traffic have you seen versus impressions?
For the one campaign that we ran through its entire cycle, we were in the double-digit conversions.
Oh,
Honestly.
okay. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, we were in the teens. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't in the 20s or anything, but it was in the teens of people that from viewership to action were in the teens in engagement.
And there's all this that you cannot track because they're not necessarily going to go directly to it, but it still entered their brain and now they know about it.
Yeah, and that's what we learned from it. To be honest with you, Del, good point is that it wasn't so much about the actual direct conversion. That was just traffic too. Okay, but what it did do was create increased traffic that we saw our traffic numbers go up for the site. Hence, our conversions to the site were improved because of it. I don't think necessarily that package, because we sold stuff, but it wasn't like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it sold the place. Like it brought awareness to it. That's why I say that I think from right now, the current perspective, destination awareness, value proposition of travel is a stronger play for the audience conversation with it rather than saying, buy now, click here, get this, buy this. It's not really that kind of direct action medium. It's more of a, hey, we want you to make aware of this. We want to show you this. We want to give you this. We want to make you get more information, whatever, come here. And then from there, you can solicit them into a direct conversion.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know what, when we were doing the Adrian Awards, I remember hearing some stories about hotels that were cutting back on didn't have the money to do the television, and they found that podcasts was a phenomenal alternative that they could track the results and see a great return.
Yeah, podcasts, definitely destination. We can get to that because I have a comment about that too. Dean, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just, thinking about some of the consumer behavior that we're seeing right now. And what you were just talking about, that video and that engagement is a really good example of that, because what that's telling me there, again, is that there's that interest. We talk a lot about our pent up demand and things like that. That's an indicator right there. That's a solid indicator that there's interest, right? They're thinking about it. And I like it. I was doing an experiment actually with a little property down in St. Lucia. where I was running some Google promoted property ads. Okay. By the way, if you Google hotels in St. Lucia, Google will tell you very matter of factly that there is a 2-week quarantine requirement on both in and out of that. Right. So it's not an easy place to travel to right now. And so conversions, bookings aren't what you're going to get. But I was very impressed by the fact that I was getting a 10% click-through rate on these promoted properties ads. And I thought, oh my, why on the world? Well, it's because people are curious, which then led me to another question that I haven't been able to test. With the promoted property ad, it automatically, like a metasearch ad, clicks into the booking engine screen, right, with the rates and availability. Okay, that's beautiful. But backtrack to that part we just talked about where you really can't book the property right now. Yes, they've got rooms open, they've got availability, but nobody's going there. And I thought about that. I thought, I almost would rather have this go to the hotel website than the booking engine. Because right now that I'm in that dreamer / driving intent stage, right? I want them to come there and look at the pretty pictures, learn about the chocolate is a big deal in St. Lucia if you don't know that. Learn about the chocolate manufacturing, or chocolat, I think is the proper pronunciation, and all that stuff, and get them more engaged. I almost think that's a better experience for the consumer than taking them to a booking engine. I was just curious what you thought on that.
I totally agree. I always felt that way, that they're, once they're curious, they're not ready to put the money down until they've explored, all that we have to offer. But sometimes you can have a page where you have more pictures and you have more content like the website, but there's also maybe a calendar underneath it, which is
because yes, of course we want bookings, and I'm never going to say we don't want bookings, but bookings aren't what's happening right now for that type of property. And again, this is very specific to a certain type of property, a Caribbean resort destination and so on, where you can't hardly go there. So right now, I'm not so much focused on getting your booking, but I'm focused on getting you, right? Getting your eyeballs and getting the first party cookie and getting all that kind of stuff to my site.
I don't know, something about, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in St. Lucia for a month because it takes 2 weeks to be there.
Who knew,
I'm going to stay there for 2 weeks, and it's 2 weeks to come back. So call me later. Go ahead.
But you know what? Now Grenada has made it a 48-hour cutoff because you've had the vaccine, you've had your negative test on the American side. Once you get there, you get a rapid test, you have an answer 48 hours later, and you're welcome to, be free and do whatever you want after that. So I think that more places in the Caribbean are going to follow.
Yeah, I think that's probably that. I don't want to lose track of what you mentioned with podcasts, Adele, because we don't do podcasts that are destination specific. We do things about what the context of what we like talking about. But I tried, and I still think that there's a huge opportunity for this, of destinations doing podcasts on a regular basis, whether it's every couple of weeks, every week, maybe even just every month for that matter. It doesn't really have to be one of those I got to sign up all the time things. But talking about their destination, things that are coming up, things that people should be aware of. I think it's a missed opportunity for some places as people are looking to discover where they're going to. Okay, this is going to sound really crude, but it's not meant to be this way. Lose their virginity and travel. Because in all honesty, they're going to a place that they haven't gone anywhere for a long time. And so they're really built up this, where am I going to go? And it's got to be that. It's got to be all that they want it to be. They've tallied their monies. They've tallied their discoveries. They've tallied their education process. They're looking to go to that place. And they don't want to miss anything. They want it to be everything they wanted it to be. So having this ability to communicate in a real-time way things that are happening in a window of time can help that process. I mean, I'd much rather go to a place that I knew everything was there that I wanted to do and did everything I wanted to do when I got there because I was aware of it, than to go to a place that I didn't know what I wanted to do, missed what I probably would want to have done, and left not knowing that I missed it.
I wonder if Stuart will be the first destination company.
Yeah, you never know, right? Stuart might be the first to throw out the Myrtle Beach podcast. But then the other is, and this goes to a platform that we do every week anyway, Monday through Thursday, the Clubhouse. Why isn't somebody doing something like that on Clubhouse? Just, hey, let's talk about coming to Indianapolis or coming to and just have something fun like that. It doesn't have to be every
There are
day.
those. I've listened to quite a few. There's
Has
some
it been
that
there?
are
Have I missed them?
specific to like there's like an Outdoors Colorado one that I listen to. So there are yes, those certainly exist on Clubhouse.
Cool, because I mean I know that
Venture outside of your marketing bubble.
yeah. See, yeah, I got to get
That's
out of
what I
my
was just
people I
thinking.
know.
In fairness, I haven't looked for them either, right?
Yeah, I know Stephanie, the other Stephanie, which you Stephanie don't come to our thing anymore.
That one, the one that Ed does is like 6 a.m. my time. So
No. I'm talking about the noon one. Ed does his own
You're
thing
right.
on that. That's fine. Ed can do his own thing. I'm talking about the noon one. You know,
Okay,
the happy
so
one,
let's
the
take a
better
wind
one.
guess for a second. I think one, I was reading that there was like something insane, like 250,000 more podcasts launched in 2020. But
Oof.
I assume up to the pandemic. So I mean, I feel like the podcast market is like super saturated right now. And I just looked it up because I was curious. When I spoke at a college and I asked them how they get a lot of their knowledge, and like half the students said podcasts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, really? Like that wasn't the medium that I was expecting. And I looked it up and it says by age group, in 2020, 49% of the people that listen to podcasts were between 12 and 34 years old, but only 22% 55 and above. So I think you have to, if you are going in that direction with podcasts, you have to also make sure you understand your market and who might be traveling to your destination and making sure that there's.
Agree. Also, it makes sense because think about progression of polarities of opinion. We create, as you just pointed out with me, our echo bubble. I follow people related to what I'm interested in, which is marketing for hospitality, so forth and so on. It's my echo bubble. And I don't look outside of that very often unless there's particular interest. With that going on, there's been pushback from this. You know, I see it all the time on Facebook, and it's so disappointing. Somebody makes an opinionated comment on something neutrally, and the trolls that attack. Oh my God. It's like, you don't know what you're, it's like, really seriously, somebody asked for an opinion. Okay, this is how innocuous it was. There was a RV thing that popped up in mind because you might be interested in this. And somebody asked, hey, should I put this little widget with this little widget, or should this widget be that widget? And these people are like, what are you, an idiot? And just like, seriously, the dude's just asking a question. And it's like, come on. So I can see where podcasts come into play because you can stay in your echo bubble and not have to deal with the diatribe of an opinion. Somebody can, I mean, to be honest, there's this guy that cleans the pool at the condos that I'm at. He listens to conservative media while he's by the pool. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what a bunch of, anyway. But that's what he listens to. And it's like, I'm not going to take it away from that's his opinion. That's what he wants to listen to. I'm not, just turn it down a little bit maybe, but we all listen to what we're interested in, and podcast is a great medium for that. I mean, look at how powerful it is that Apple's launching a whole new platform about non-commercial based podcasts and so forth. It's such a direct channel medium now of communication. So if you believe in something, you find a podcast that reiterates that, or you follow something that is patterned off of what you value, you're going to listen to it. It's going to be your medium of choice. I see that happening. But yes, to your point, there's a huge dilution to it. But also, if you look, there's a lot of dead soldiers out there. There's a lot of podcasts that died months ago. That there is no new update. There is no new episode, or there's no pattern to it or whatever. Because I look at some of my podcasts I subscribe to and I'm like, last edition was 2017. Ooh, I haven't listened to that one in a while because they just stopped doing it. That's one of the reasons why consistency is such a huge thing. Is like, if you show up, be there, do the project until you're done. So anyway.
Well, and I don't like the iTunes podcast or whatever. That's usually the app that I use, and their search functionality is awful.
Sucks.
Like so bad.
Unless you type it exactly right, you get exactly nothing.
I was trying to find a podcast by Brené Brown for a Castell thing, and it took me like 15 minutes to find this like particular thing. And I was like, why does your search suck so bad?
Yeah.
That's terrible. And you know what? Also, they don't update their graphics.
Oh,
like
yeah.
6 months.
Adele's been fighting the Apple beast for months because she wants to update her graphics.
Quite a good fight.
Oh, David and Goliath. But yeah, it is a very slow medium, and it's also a very absolute medium. If you stop the podcast that you have with them, you can't change the name. It's done. You have to make a new podcast if you're going to do a different name or something. There's certain things in stone that are just built that way for them, that once they put it in as that, that's what it is. and you can't change them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's yeah. All right, now that we bashed Apple for a while, hey,
Bashing Apple is fun.
speaking about Apple, okay, since we're on the Apple thing, 14.5 rolled out, okay, and 11.3 on Big Sur and stuff like this. Has anybody started seeing those little wall warnings that this app gathers the following information, or do you give permission for this app to go over and gather the following information? Have you seen that stuff?
What that's from? Well, no, specifically. All right, so I confess in here.
I haven't upgraded yet.
I'm a little bit of a Candy Crush addict, and suddenly Candy Crush, every time I go in it, has to specifically tell me that they may collect my information.
Yeah, that's it. That's why.
That's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, it's what Zuckerberg's all in a wad about, because he it kind of exposes what Facebook. The thing that I think everyone's discounting is most people don't really care. I mean, they're just like, I'm going to use the app anyway. Click fine, sure. You want to know where I went to the bathroom? Sure, go ahead. I'm good. It's that tracking possibility. Psh, okay, for a lot of people. Now, some people will be like, forget it, I'm not going to. And of course, it warns you afterwards. Well, this will limit the ability for us to be personalizing your information. You may get generic ads in spite of targeted ads, or this app may not work to its full functionality. Okay, sure. I like it for one reason. The apps that you have a question mark over your head when you download them, like, where is this app really built? Who's really running this app? What is this app really doing? Why do I really want this app? Because I'm, as you know from my screen, hold on, let me go over and boast about my dysfunctional screen. I have lots of folders of apps. I constantly try apps. So I will download the latest app from Hsinchu, China, and just see what it does. I don't know what they're getting from me, but it's nice to know that at least Apple will go over and say, hey, it's going to take all of this information and use it. And then I can make the decision like, yeah, no, it's not worth it for me to do that. That part I like. That's pretty cool with it. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a trend, although what they say, Google and Facebook will also begin to roll out their own versions of disclosure. I don't know. But I do know it affects us from a marketing perspective. It does change functionalities that we can perform in Facebook, because most people don't realize that Facebook, almost 2/3 of the data that they use for their targeting was not theirs. It was data from partnerships, financial institutions, medical institutions, things that they neutralize the individuality of the data, but used it cumulatively in the process of the data that they use for targeting for their ads. And with that disclosure that they now have to do, people are now becoming aware of the fact that it's, as they pointed out in the news, a dark side to marketing, that this information is being gathered so freely and for free. And then we're having to pay for that availability and usage. So I don't know how long the long effects will be, but it will affect us in some way, I guess. With that in mind, are you getting anybody pushback of saying that they don't want to be heavy in on the marketing, that they got enough business or don't want to bother with marketing and just want to handle the crisis of overwhelming business demand?
Somebody has that problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a thing.
For a lot of our hotels, they're seeing the demand on the weekends, so we're switching to focusing on weekdays more so. Yeah, there's a lot of markets that I don't think have any problems on the weekends. Now it's more like, how are you maximizing your ADR and your rate strategy, and filtering out the lower tiered business on the weekends that we were happy to take 6 months ago, and shifting to say, can we do more length of stay promos to help with Sundays and Thursdays, that type of thing.
Yeah. I think right now what I'm getting from one is, I have one client in particular on the beachfront property go and said, Lauren, I love talking to you. I'm just shoving everything across the table to you. You do whatever you need to do, whatever way you need to do it, make the decisions you want to do, and tell me how much it is, and I'll write a check for it. I don't care. And I'm like, no. but I went over and it's like, okay, fine. He says, I have no time for this. I'm more worried about whether I got crew showing up to handle what a business I got than I everything. Hey, Melissa! Than I do for anything else. Marketing wise, he says, I'm not worried about it. But he also, in the same vein, says, look, I need help. I need advertising for staff, team. I need them now. I need you to. And I thought it was a very smart move that he realized that marketing has that ability. We had that discussion on
Clubhouse. Yeah.
Clubhouse yesterday. We
Yeah.
talked about that, where it was utilizing the resources like marketing for HR, because HR isn't in the world of advertising. They don't. I mean, they'll take applicants. They'll define the job role and all the other stuff they're supposed to do. But they're not, other than just let's go to LinkedIn and put an ad up, which is like white noise at this point.
Mhm.
They don't really have a means of isolating, targeting, and soliciting people to come to their team. So, Melissa, thank you. It's good to see you.
Happy birthday, everyone.
Obviously, we have a well-balanced crew. We have 3 women, 2 guys, which is great because that means we have an intelligent dialogue today. Excluding Dean and I. That's what I'm just saying.
Wait, what?
Anywho, Melissa.
I just don't like how Facebook, when you're looking for line level, that you can't force them to, you can't put a link in to have them apply on your own website. You either have them apply for Facebook or you have to put an email address in, which
Lead gen.
basically calls double work for,
Yep, lead gen.
anybody receiving that. And that's like my one big, like, angry thing to Facebook is I need to be able to drop a link in, not just an email address for
Yep.
application.
I 2 things to that. One, with 2 go rounds I've done. One is I've used bots on the website to go over and solicit people going over and saying, "Hey, are you looking for an excellent career opportunity with us potentially?" And it's a separate bot, and it goes through a whole dialogue with them. What are you interested in doing? What it goes through and pre-qualifies them a little bit and gives them the opportunity to just simply put in their base information for communication. We don't try to push them over to a form or fill out this application. We just want to make an established communication with them. And the other is we're doing the same thing for the messenger. We put that into our logic string. For any reason, if you're looking for career opportunities with us, please click here. And it goes off to a separate logic string for them to communicate with us. Just because of what you just said, it's either a lead gen, hey, you're interested in working with us? Click here and then put in your Facebook information. A lot of people don't want to share their social contact information in something like that. So it's kind of a self-defeating thing. Like, I don't want you to have my Facebook connection to want a job. I just want you to call or me call you or give you a link to go to apply or something. Which also, another little thing we're trying, I haven't found out yet for this yet, is video interview. We're putting a link with Dub, which is a platform I use, for people to video ask for, hey, I'm looking for a position in such and such. I've done such and such, I've done such and such, and just send the video over. Just, hey, I'm interested. And it's a little video thing. We're just trying it. We just started this week. Well, earlier this week. So we'll see.
What was that called? What was that?
Dub, D-U-B-B.
All right.
I've heard of
That
this.
sounds great because
It's
you
kind of
get-
fun. It's
you
just a
get
little
into
link
the
thing that
person.
they can click on it and just do a, hey, I'm interested in such and such or whatever,
But
So
the
I
hard
don't
part
know
is
yet.
getting them to show up for the interview or show up for the job.
Right?
I mean,
I have, yeah,
That's the hard part.
in the local news here, there's restaurants that are giving $50 if you show up for the interview. Whether you get the
McDonald's.
job or not, they're giving you $50 to show up for the interview because
McDonald's is.
they're saying that people don't even show up.
If
You
you
know
plan that out just right, schedule 1 interview an hour.
I'm
you can
thinking
go
it's
around, make
yeah.
$50
I
an
always
hour.
wanted to be a server.
Yeah.
my friend was doing a career, an event, hiring event for 10 hotels in the DC area. So they had over 300 people show interest. And then she sent them all a link to like reserve their slot for social distancing. Only like 105 of the 300 even would reserve a slot. And of those, guess how many showed up for the actual interview?
How many?
5.
Get the hell out!
7.
Really?
7 out of
people out
300,
of all of that.
315 or something like that.
Wow.
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 So
I mean-
show up, you got pretty good odds.
Yeah. The odds are in your favor.
Here's a mirror. Can you fog it? Good. You've got the job.
That's sad.
Wow.
I mean,
wow,
that's just
that's like a bad agency conversion campaign right there.
Right?
Oh man. But it is, I mean, we're seeing it in the news all the time. I mean, they're talking about the fact that, like lumber. Okay. I'm in our condos. The reason why it's in my head is that the condo association has contracted out for the stairs to the second floor condos, mine, get replaced. The price went from here to like here.
Mhm.
I mean, plywood was $9 a sheet or something 6 months ago. Now it's $58 or something. If you can even get the wood, and then 2x4s are. They said it was 250% price increase in the past 6 months for wood, and they said because shipping is down, they don't have enough truck drivers, and they don't have enough workers doing stuff. So the supply is low, and so of course price goes up. And they now, of course, they're looking at trying to salvage some of the wood because they don't, they're trying to keep it in the price that they quoted to get it done. And I'm like, well, that wood's rotten there. You might not want to save that piece, that kind of thing. So, they're like, oh no, a little glue and it'll be fine. But it's amazing how the shortage is affecting so many things. And except for Amazon, they hired everybody. They took all the workers. But they're saying between the unemployment and then the federal stimulus money, between the two, people are having better incomes than they had when they were working, or at least the same. So why work until that funding runs out, kind of thing is the logic that they're saying. I don't prescribe that that's really the strongest reason. I think it's a contributing reason.
Because what happens when that funding runs out?
Yeah. And just, I think also people, just me in an esoteric discussion, I think people have come to realize there's more to life than work. I think that people have come to balance out the fact that they do want to go to their child's recital. And it doesn't mean that they're going to lose a rat race at the office by being early to leave the office from the other competitors that are in the same rat race, that they're going to be perceived poorly because they left and everyone else worked the extra 2 hours that day. They realize, screw it. I don't care. I'm going to make sure I go to my daughter's recital, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to go from work from home because I can be just as productive. Hell no, we've proved that in the past year and a plus. And that people are realizing that it's not that. And then for those that have to show up for line positions, that, be lucky you have a job mentality, or we're going to pay you what we think you're owed, but not what you deserve. Or, we're going to keep you at a point where you have to always work overtime because that's the only way you can afford your lifestyle, which is base lifestyle. I'm not saying the people buying Maseratis, just the fact that they can afford their rent and everything else in the world, that they have to do overtime. People are going, no, that's not. No, I think there's a better way of doing this. And I think that's influencing it too. I think there's people that are doing that as well. And for us in hospitality, we've always been, for lack of a better way, abusing that mentality of no, you have to pay your dues. No, holidays out. That's our busiest time. Weekends, that's busy time too. Regular 9 to 5. No. We got things going on in the evening. We got shifts in the evening. If you want to be in this industry, it's a rewarding industry, but you got to work whenever we need you.
When I started, they said, oh, you have to pay your dues and you have to do these evening events and you have to come in on the weekends and do your weekend shifts. And I bought it and I believed it. And I'll never forget when I had my family coming from Israel and I said, I can't come in on Saturday to be at this event. This is a precious moment. They don't come all the time. And they said, well, you can bring your cousins with you to the event, but you can't not work the event. And the thing is that so many decades later, I was getting paid obviously at a completely different level, but I was still working more hours than anybody if you put it together. Because and they would be more likely to leave because younger people are more wise to the fact that you should schedule your fitness class right after work and get to it, and it is important to make that time for yourself. And I still live in that I've got to do it all. I've got to be in every place at the same time.
Adele, you lost me at fitness class after work. I know. That's happy hour. That's happy hour. That's not fitness time. That's happy hour. Everyone's happy hour.
But you know what? I think that hotels and all businesses are going to have to readjust the way they think about their teams. That we're not going to return back to that old model. I just don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
hotels and restaurants still need people to work.
Still need people, yes.
Holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's where, I did that, and there's a time and a place for it, but and you sacrifice a lot, and
it is, and I think there will always be a sacrifice of that balancing between there's just needs for, but I think we as an industry are blind-eyed to making that adaptive change. here's my logic of what satisfies you, Steph. I'm of the same old school. It's like, look, I got stripes on my arm of how many years I pulled those shifts. I got years of pictures of me and my wife at parties that because I was running it as a food and beverage director, and the only way I got to see her at New Year's was she showed up at the New Year's party I'm freaking running. Okay, so I got those pictures, right? I want everybody to have that pain that I had. But I gotta let it go because it doesn't make a difference. It's like, no, if there's a way as an industry that we can go over and say, look, this is what you get in extra for doing these things that we need, or this has to be incorporated into your scheduling. That yes, we want that balancing act, but there will be times, certain dates of evenings that we need these to happen, or holidays that needs to happen. But to create an equality to this that allows for the flexibility of if you do this, you get this, whether it's compensation and or alternative time, something. We don't have that built into our structure right now. We have it of pay your dues. I feel like, and I mean, I appreciate the doctors that have learned this way because they must have learned it by rote, but that intern program that they run through, that internship that they run where they're beaten to death for 18 hours a day or 24 hours a day for 5 days, and then they crash for 2 days, and the idea is that if they build it to be an automatic response that they're good even if they're half asleep. I don't buy that anymore. That to me seems ridiculous that you're going to force
but
them.
once you're an actual doctor, you only work like 12 days a month.
Okay,
so.
yes. Granted, most of your workout
You
is
just got to get through the pain of residency, okay? So.
Yeah, you paid your dues. We're in that paid your dues in industry where it's like you get your stripes. Oh, hey, well, you think, and I actually told, and this is really bad because I'm getting really blatant in my older age, I guess. I had a GM that got on a call, and it was just him and I had this whole agenda of stuff that I needed to get answered. And he says, dude, I'm working 80 plus hours this week. I'm pulling front desk shit, cleaning rooms, so forth and so on. I says, I'm not going to use his name. You know, nobody cares. He's like, what? Dude, I did the same thing. I used to say what you just said. I'm pulling 100-hour weeks, this and this. You know what? If you die, the people are going to show up to your funeral and go, hey, he was a great GM. Who's replacing him? And walk right past your grave, dude. They don't care. It's business. So quit sacrificing for people who don't care. And if anything, we had companies that showed this. Oh, we're a family company. We're a great company. We're all about our people. What's that? We're out of business, or we reduce business, fire everybody. That's what a lot of companies did. And now they're wondering why they can't get people back because they're like, I kind of remember when you were a dick.
If somebody's working 80 hours a week, that means he needs an assistant manager that works alternate shifts, not, overlapping.
If you're working that much, you're not managing well. Not because you're not going to your ownership and saying I'm overworked or I'm not able to be as productive as I want. If you have to work that much to get the work done, you're working too much.
Yeah,
I know I can say that from my angle right now. Go ahead, Dean.
Sometimes you also have to face the fact, though, too, that there are things that just have to get done. Well, you're working the New Year's Eve. Okay, well, somebody has to do it, right? Look,
Right.
I grew up on a farm in Northeast Nebraska. We had to feed cows. We had to feed, and do these things. And you had to get up in the morning and do that, whether you liked it or not. It didn't matter. And I can remember very clearly, and this is one of the reasons I'm not a farmer, by the way, is it was Christmas Eve. We had just come back from midnight mass, and our tradition was, we were kids, and tradition was back from midnight mass, Santa Claus somehow came while we were there, and we got home. That's when we opened presents. We got back from midnight mass, and cows were out. So we were putting in cows and rounding them up, putting them in, getting them back in their pen at about 2:00 in the morning, Christmas Eve, because you had to do it. It just had to be done. So the mentality, I respect everything everybody says about that. Hey, we have to have that work-life balance, but sometimes there's just shit that has to get done.
Not
I
disagree.
agree. And not to change the subject, but I also feel that way about all the, anybody that's a new entrepreneur that has this
Always on.
no, people that have this, how do I say, they think that, being an entrepreneur and running your own schedule and picking your own clients is some magical place that they can
Isn't?
achieve.
Whoa, what's this? What?
And there's a lot of unrealistic expectations about what it takes to succeed in the, and do your own thing. So,
Wait a minute.
gotta
You're
put
the
your time
picture
in.
postcard for me. Google t-shirt and leisure lifestyle. I'm
You're right.
thinking you're at the apex of happy right now. I don't understand what you're trying to say that it's not that. No, but I'll say to your point, living the life. I mean, I can go over and say these things about overwork and about life balance. I'm not disagreeing with you. There are times where it just needs to get done. What I'm saying is added to that equation of, okay, good, you did it. Thank you. Is here's what you get for it. Here's a balance to it. Just a fulcrum of if you had to work the New Year's, or you had to push the 80-hour week because God dang, we got slammed, we were unprepared, we don't have enough staff, and you ponied up and you worked those extra hours because it just needed to get done, great. Don't just marker that and let it fade into the past of what you did. There's a marker that you get rewarded for. Hey, remember that week that you pulled 80 hours, or that month that you pulled 80 hours a week? Here's a 5-day vacation to such and such on us. Go take it. Okay.
Yeah, but then you're going to get into the like, well, you did this, employees, and be like, oh, you did this for that. And when you're talking about, like, I used to work at 1,122 room hotel with 160,000 square feet of space. If I got into that, like, I'm going to reward this person and not this person, I'm going to have every server lined up at my office every day saying, well, he did this and he got that. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but that's impossible to do.
Closers get donuts, Tommy. I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, you're right. You create a larger problem by making that a condition of it. But I think we're all smart enough to know how to logistically create a balance for everybody. Here's what I think would also happen. People would line up offering to do extra work if they feel like they're going to get rewarded for it. I think the other balance to what you're saying too is where they wouldn't be up like whining as much. That would happen. There's always going to be those. Okay. But there's also the people's like, wow, if I do that extra stuff, I get rewarded for that. Sign me up. I'll pull the New Year. I'll sign up for every holiday right now, because they may be a position in their life where that is not a problem or an issue, and they get something for it. For case in point, going back to the Google discussion, just because it was something we started with, they were able to bank their vacation or their credits to where they stayed based on what they chose to stay at. So they were given a per diem, and they could stay wherever they wanted to. If they wanted to stay at a place that was above the per diem, they could. They paid the difference. If they stayed at a place that was below the per diem, that banked credit for them. So what they did is, when they had to travel for work, you find a lot of Google people that are going into really affordable places because it banked a nice little wad of money that when they went to a place that they thought, ooh, I want to go there and really enjoy it, plus I want to add some of my vacation time on top of it, they had this credit that was allowed to them to make sure that they could pay for what was above per diem at that time, plus whatever else they wanted to go beyond. That when you start showing people that they have a means to do it, you will get what you said, Steph. People that come in and go, why she get it and not me? Well, because she's works her butt off and you don't, or whatever it is, candor or whatever. Or the other part of it is where they might come in and go, hey, look, if you're needing people to really do that, where you need that New Year's Eve party and nobody else is volunteering, I'm in, because I understand that if I do that, I get this for it. I think people will work that way as well. But yeah, to your point, there will always be whiners. And that's why they
Whiners.
Well, you also need, I think that everybody on this podcast has a mindset that's always about, continuous learning and growth and personal growth. You also have to understand there are those people that just want to come to work and get a paycheck. And you have to be able to understand that mindset and be able to appeal to that mindset. I used to do events where we would have, if we were using every ballroom, I would need, 400 servers. So I'm picking whatever, I have to take whatever walking bodies can carry a tray at that point in time, I feel like you have to appeal to the mindset. So maybe not everybody wants X, and that's a hard part.
Granted. And I do believe that there are some positions that are what they are. Your temporary banquet staff is an on-off switch. It's, I need them or I don't need them. And it's not about whether I needed them on a New Year's Eve or whether it's, you're available to work. Here's what I have available. You either choose that you can do it or you can't do it. And that's the relationship we have. I'm with you on that. But also, going back to that world of, there were people I could lean on as if they were a stone pedestal. I could always count on them to be whatever I needed them to be. They should get rewarded. They should be rewarded for the fact that they were so mainstay in their commitment to making sure that we always did what we needed to get done. I wanted to give them something other than just an attaboy or a, hey, why don't you take tomorrow off, which you're already going to take anyway. It's just, I think that there's a balancing of that kind of system for those that are perpetual with you. There is a criteria of engagement with people. You have part-timers. You have those people that are, as you said, can carry a tray. By the way, claim to fame, 21 plates on one tray.
I think I can do 16. I'm like half your size, so it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine.
Without dating myself, which I'm about to do any of you think that there is a generational issue of what is expected of people when they come to work?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, by far.
So as we're looking at hospitality jobs,
Tamara said yes.
Yes.
For starters, I expect you to come to work. Let's start with
That's right.
Able to work, able to work. Let's add that in there because that wasn't added in before. Able to work. Not like, all right, I'm here. You know.
So as
Yes.
we're looking at these jobs that require working weekends and holidays and all these things, and these tend to be more entry level. I'm not saying all of them, but the positions we're trying to fill are more entry level, and you have a lot of generational people who just
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to do that.
I go back, and this even goes back a ways too. Is if my boss had to come in and help me with my job, I worked doubly hard because it was embarrassing that my boss had to come in and help me. You know, whether it be a server or whatever I was doing at the restaurant or whatever. Generationally, another generation, not too far distant, if the boss came in, I came in to go over and help them do stuff, they went and took a smoke break, figuring, hey, you're the boss. If you want to do my work job, I'll just go take a smoke break. Total different perspective. It's like, I'm helping you because you're crappy at what you're doing and I'm trying to catch you up and you're just going to take a smoke break. What the hell? You know, perception wise, it is very different. I remember when I was coming up as a formal server, you didn't have the right to work. You showed up fully tuxed with your dry clean tag sticking out, and you went through inspection to whether you were allowed to get on the floor that night. Seriously, if you had a stain that you didn't take care of, or you weren't dressed in the proper attire as designated, and you didn't have your dry cleaning tags on to show that you cleaned and pressed your uniform that you had to buy yourself, not, you know, then you weren't allowed on the floor. You didn't make money that night. But if you made money that night, you made some dang good money that night. Because, I mean, that was the carrot, is that if you could present yourself. That doesn't exist anymore. That stuff doesn't happen anymore.
You know,
Have you,
sorry, go ahead, Stephanie.
no, I was going to ask Melissa at Fuel, have you guys done hiring in the last recently where you've had to shift your either hiring practices or training to adapt?
Yes. Well, we've only had one new hire during the pandemic, but yes, so that person we had started interviewing before the pandemic and had to put things on hold because, you know, we lost a whole bunch of clients, so we couldn't afford to hire anybody, but now we're back on the hiring train. So this person eventually was hired via remote interview and has been trained mostly remote, is working remote until right now. She's decided actually to go into the office at least a few days a week, but she's kind of there by herself. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, it's not the same as having our team all together. We don't have that camaraderie that we normally would if we were in person. It's not the same. I'm not going to lie and say that it is.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is definitely different in that sense. And I think going to what you mentioned earlier, Steph, we as us have a certain luxury that a lot of people don't have. We can do this. We can be on a screen and get work accomplished. We can meet with people that we need to meet with for what we do, and we can still function in our job descriptions. Somebody on a line level, front desk is front desk, housekeeping is housekeeping, engineering is still engineering. Line staff don't have that luxury. They have to balance the capabilities of getting to and from work, all the restrictions municipality-wise that have to go through, the constant changes that management create. From that, going back to that balancing of life thing, how I think that it influences them is we, if anything, show a disparity between those that are on top versus those that are on the bottom. CEO salaries compared to line positions are measured in the geometric proportion of percentage overages of what they get paid in comparison to what their line people get paid. So what I'm asking about is literally taking what's already existing in the finances of a company and reassessing it to balancing out to the proportion that is necessary to make people feel that they're being a part of what they're producing as much as the people that are running it that get it to be produced. And so it may mean a salary reduction for somebody in a higher level. It may mean a different margin for profitability, for ownership, but not to take it away from everybody. It's like, this isn't a socialist thing to say, oh, everybody should just make what they need to make for their lifestyle. I'm not saying that. Success should be rewarded. Performance should be rewarded. I'm just saying that there should be a reassessment as to how we pay for people. I mean, not to pick on Walmart, but the fact of it is that most of the people that work at Walmart had to go over and get subsidized income from the government just to maintain poverty level. And for companies, in my mind, it's an embarrassment that they're arguing about $15 an hour, because congratulations, you just announced that you're paying people below poverty level. It's amazing that people's perception of, if they don't know what it's like to live at those levels, they don't know what they're asking people to do for, so what little they're able to compensate them for. So when it comes to what you talk about, Adele, and so forth, culture and creation and guest sensitivity and guest focus and so forth, if the person's hungry, they're not really as focused as they could be. If they're wondering whether they're going to pay the rent, they're not as focused as they could be. Sustaining the value of what they do for us is something we as an industry really haven't tackled as strongly as we should. And now we're facing that because we're just not getting the people in to work with us at that point. From a line level position, I should say.
You
Stephanie,
know,
I'm reading your post. Holy crap! Are you kidding me?
Sorry, go Adele. Yeah.
Sorry.
So on the podcast, on my podcast, the Hospitality Reputation Marketing Podcast, just posted, was a conversation with Christine Trippi. She years ago took over as general manager for a Marriott Courtyard that was in the red zone on Marriott, failing to meet the basic standards of guest satisfaction that are required. And everybody said that she's going to have to let a lot of people go, that the people didn't care. And she went in there, and maybe one or two people at the top had to change, but everybody else turned into absolute superstars once when she said, I have a vision for this company. We're going to be the best. We're going to not worry about things that we cannot change, like it's an older building or that we have a lot of competition around us or whatever. We're not going to worry about what we can't change. We're going to focus 100% on the things that we can control. And one of those things is the culture, the cleanliness, the service or friendliness, etc. And they did, and then they became the #1 hotel on TripAdvisor for Lake County in Illinois, and she did it with the same people. And she and I agree. I hope everybody will listen to that podcast episode because it is a good one. But she and I agree that you may imagine that those people are coming in and clocking in and doing their job and leaving, and that's all they care about. That's all that they care about now, because they have to stone their feelings to manage to get through a job where that doesn't show that they appreciate them. But when you start treating those people with respect and saying, I know you guys are great. I've seen you do great things. I just want you to do great things every day, all the time, and everything you do. And I know you've got it in you, and I'm going to help you every step of the way. When you do that, you change somebody's life. You take them from being somebody who is painfully just struggling to do the tasks that are before them, and they're not building a cathedral, they're just building a brick wall. But if you tell them that you're building a cathedral, which in hospitality terms means we're here to provide comfort and respite and hospitality to everybody who walks through our doors, we're going to be met with smiles and great thanks, and we're going to do something wonderful to put a little sunshine into these people's lives. Single one of the person that walks through our door needs this break and this hospitality from us, and we're going to change the world by what we give to them and how they leave better than that how they came. That's actually, by the way, Virgin Hotels says that their mission is that everyone who comes in contact with them, whether they're a vendor or an employee or a guest, leaves better than when they came. That should be a universal feeling. The people's lives change when that happens, and they have to start believing that they're worth something and that they have a future and they have the potential to grow. And you know what? It's wonderful to see somebody who used to be in housekeeping become the general manager of a hotel. or started as a bellman, or started as a dishwasher, or started as a busboy. The owner of the Library Hotel Collection started as a busboy. So it can happen. So don't treat people, it's not just what we pay people. It's what we pay them because we think little of them. We pay them little when we think little of them. We have to pay them what for their potential and all that they're going to bring to the table, because we cannot have a hospitality business without them.
True. I'm reading. Go ahead, Steph. Go ahead, Steph.
I said I don't want to, like, I believe in everything you say, and I believe wholeheartedly in culture because I've been in bad cultures, and I appreciate culture more, I think, once you've been in a bad one previously. But back to what Melissa's saying, I've hired a few people during the pandemic, and I've struggled with, like, millennials needing different, like, just patting them on the back and, like, publishing your vision, like, those things don't always work the same way.
Right.
And being able to communicate with them differently because they have different value sets. So, like, making sure that you communicate your values in the hiring process, and that carries through in your culture. It's easy to say, it's a really hard thing to actually do.
Yes.
And I have found that millennial, or just young, like, I've been working with it through an internship with the local college, and having an intern, like, it's been a struggle for me because I'm like, why? I just need you to, like, where's the initiative? Like, there's, like, these intangible things that I really struggle with that have nothing to do that, like I said, Adele, everything you said is true, but there is a different mindset and different expectations that I have been struggling with. I don't know if that's where you were going with that, Melissa.
I have felt that myself. I just want you to know that just because I say that doesn't mean I haven't, because I have. But I can tell you, I've had millennials that have been absolutely powerhouses. And then I've had others where they'll tell me, Adele, you're supposed to, I don't know if you know about this, but you're supposed to say something nice and then say the criticism and then say something nice. But I would be like not being able to come up with one thing nice I could say.
Well, I need to clarify that I'm technically a millennial. I was born in 81. So I just want to, I'm not saying anything bad about millennials because technically I am one. And what's after millennials? Gen something. I forget them all mixed up. Gen Z.
Yeah. And then, but to bring things in, and Tamar brought up a very good point of this, is that there is a contrast between, I don't have the answers to all this. I have definitely opinions about it, but I think two things I've found from being in different cultures where you have an active, engaged team at a property level, like I've had, and then I have an office engaged team, like I've had. I've been in a corporate office team engagement. I've been in lots of different tiered engagements of what's considered culture and team. And I think from two things, I think that we can learn from this, from regardless of the generational differences of busting your butt 80 hours a week because that's what you thought you're supposed to do, to the where's my cafe lappuccino coffee with frothy cream topping that I was told I was going to hit every day when I walked in the door. There's a qualifier of expectations that goes through communication. For instance, and I'll bring this to some realities, people that get hired in certain offices require or expected swag bags. I thought it was a benefit bonus where somebody joined the team. We put a little T-shirt in their QB that they were going to be sitting in, and we put a cup that had the logo on it and their welcoming card and their welcoming goodies and all the stuff that we thought were welcome to the team. I remember the first person that came back to me going, "I only get one T-shirt." Whoa, dude, you got one? What the, like, where is that from? And it came from the fact we didn't quantify what they were interested in doing when they came. And I went through talking to the people that interviewed them. This is before I got engaged with the interview process as much as I ended up doing. And I found out that they didn't ask some of these questions. Why do you want this? What do you want to do? What is your expectations of this? The swag bags, I found out from a generational perspective, is a bragging point. Look what they gave me. Look at this. They do this in the social engagement, just like when social first got rolling, people were taking pictures of what they're eating and stuff. Look what I'm eating. Look what you're eating. Look what I'm eating. It's a show off. It's all about me, my branding, what I do. And I found out, this goes back a few years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, that the swag bag that was offered to them was a bragging right between them and their peers as to who got what in comparison to what they got. I didn't know that because I didn't ask that. It's the point I'm trying to make. I didn't ask what I thought I was doing something nice, by giving them some neat little things to welcome them to the place. I didn't know it was a branding badge of whether or not we really wanted to kiss their ass, but for coming in. And so I learned that. So I asked that now in the interview. So how do you think about swag bags? Well, I love showing up. Okay, so if you didn't get one, what would that mean to you? And I would listen and watch them. And even though they may have been technically talented, I didn't think they fit my culture because they were focusing on things that I didn't find important to why I was bringing them on board. By the same token, I totally threw out the annual review process because I found historically for me, it was a very biased, unfortunately inaccurate way of assessing somebody. Take that same 80 hours a week person and they busted their butt 11 and a half months out of the year, and then something stumbled. And the last 2 weeks before the review, something went wrong or something went weird or they did something wrong, or whatever. And that is front and center in my mind, disproportionately larger than all the other work that they did. And I penalized them by not rewarding them as much for all the things that they did do. So we created this perpetual reward system. And we did it from a peer perspective where people could acknowledge other people. But we diluted it with the fact of, I know your friends, so all the ones you go over and give them little bonus points for, I throw them away. So stop doing it. I was very clear. And sometimes the clarity of honesty clears up the issue for a lot of people because people want to know what's expected. This is what I expect. This is where I say you've done well. This is where I say you haven't done well. And then to Dell's point, who just left us, is I don't really put a coating around it. It's like, I'm not here to say, oh, I love your hair. By the way, you suck.
There is a neat little application out there. When I worked at Derbysoft, we used this called Bonusly. And what it amounts to is every employee is allotted X number of points, let's say 40 points that you have that you can then allocate and give out to your coworkers. Hey, Lauren helped me get this client onboarded. Lauren, here's 10 points, whatever, right? And then you collect those points as an employee, and you can then later use them towards a Starbucks gift card or whatever you want to put them. There's stuff you could buy with them. It was a really cool application.
Yeah, Seven Geese is like that too. They're the same. And so, and also the bonus programs or the compensation programs were not annualized or even quartered or semi-annual. It was, I can't lose you. I got to give you more money. That's plain and simple. You just crushed it. And I need to make sure that you don't go somewhere because you crushed it. And I want to keep you around, keep crushing and doing some stuff, I think we work in our own modalities. And what I just said about the annualization of reviews and so forth, it was an arduous task for any supervisor or managers to go through the annual review process. It's Susie from housekeeping. I've talked to Susie all of 3 times. My bad, this entire year. I don't know what Susie does. I know she's in housekeeping. What do other people say about Susie? I don't have anything here. What does HR say? HR doesn't know that. They're not involved in everybody's dialogue per day basis. They're not a person in their kind of thing. They're the representation of an office position. So what am I going to say about Susie? Well, I haven't heard anything bad, so she must get her standard bonus. Well, is it standard or is it moderately or is it low? And you're just really dartboard thunk. Okay, I think I'm going to give him this much. Or you know what? We're in a budget conversation right now. Maybe I just don't give her that much because if I don't give that much to a lot of them, I can keep under my bonus or under my budget so I can get my bonus. It's all dysfunctional, is what I'm trying to say. These things don't work well because she's looking at going, wow, I can go to over there now and make more money because I didn't get really the money I deserve. And we look really weird at people that come in and complain. If you gave a bonus to somebody or a raise, I remember one young guy, he was a little out of league with it, says, I should have gotten the top end. I don't think so. And we at least had a discussion. And he really thought that he rocked this and this. And says, dude, really, let's take exactly what you think is the reason why, and let's break it down as to why I don't think it is. At the end of it, we agreed, you know what? I probably shortchanged you a little bit, but it's certainly not what you think it is, but I'll be willing to do this. And we negotiated it. And he walked out satisfied that he made his case and got better for it. By the same token, we got real clear, crystal clear on expectations. It really was an excuse of dialogue. We don't tend to do that. I mean, some great leaders do. Go ahead, Dean.
Well, and that's a perfect scenario. That's the way things ought to be done. And I'm going to grant you that wholeheartedly. But and here's the big but to this. That's not the way the lawyers want you to do it, especially when you get into a large organization, right? That large organization has got HR people, they've got supervisors upon supervisors, and they want to be able to quantify everything. They've got to be able to put a number to everything and spell out, here's the exact structure that defines whether or not you get a raise, whether or not you did a good job, and it all has to be quantifiable.
Well, I think my problem with Lauren's story is that it took the employee going to Lauren to fight about
Absolutely.
it. And the statistics show that most females aren't comfortable having that
Excellent point.
confrontational
Excellent point.
discussion.
Excellent
I
point.
would never do
You need to be continuously providing that level of feedback so that, and leaving that open door so that people don't feel like they have to come to that apex and have an uncomfortable conversation.
It's an absolutely
Sure.
excellent point. I didn't say it was the right thing. It ended up being the thing, but you are dead spot on. 9 out of 10 people, especially female, unfortunately, will never put themselves in that role of I disagree, because they're immediately labeled or stereotyped in a way that lingers, and it is a bullshit bias, to be honest with you.
I did it one time, early, like 15, when I was still working in hotels, and I got my ass handed to me. I had my director of F&B and assistant director of F&B that was like, "Don't you ever try to have that conversation with me again." And I was like,
Wow.
I probably, from an age perspective, if I could go back in time, would be the first to rally everybody going, don't take these people seriously. They don't know half the shit they think they know. And don't put up with no as the first answer. And if they give you that kind of attitude, it's not worth working with them, because they don't care about what you're doing. They only care about what you can do for them. And don't be there. Don't do that, because there's places that are better than that. Because like you said, you have to experience a bad culture to understand what a good culture is. It's a shame that there are bad cultures, but the whole reason why we're having this discussion is because right now we're dysfunctional as an industry. We can't get the people we need for some of the reasons we're talking about. We're not addressing the core reasons of why a excellent female worker who's getting underpaid simply for gender is looking to go to another role that she can't outspokenly say she would prefer to stay if recognized for her talents and value. That's dysfunctional. That should never be a case. It's a reality, unfortunately, as does for anybody that has limitations due to language, social status, ethnicity, any bias like that. And we know that they exist, unfortunately, within our businesses. We have these stereotypes of what we consider classifications of job qualifications, and we influence it by those kind of things, unfortunately.
I used to work for a European company who said, but of course we have to pay men more because they have to support their families.
Yeah, that's bogus bullshit. Sorry.
what year was this, Adele?
It was either the late 80s or early 90s.
Well, actually, you know what? In Europe, still, you can classify exactly the physicality of the person you want to hire. Young woman, such and such. You can do that still. Wow. They can literally say, "This is what I want in this role," from a gender perspective and age perspective. You
there was a very long time in hotels where there was a certain stereotype you hired for front desk. Am I wrong?
Sure. No. It still exists in some hotels. Let's not even say that. It still exists. There are certain hotels that airlines had the same thing for at the time, stewardesses. They had to be of the same size or particular size, particular shape, particular weight. That was a qualifier to it. Yeah,
How is Hooters still in business?
I don't know.
Well, and a dozen other franchises like them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones that play to that. I'm like, how have they not been sued out of business?
I know one Hooters employee who now works for Google. Very, very smart. I hired her at Fuel. Extremely smart. And she said she loved working there, that it was just the people were great. The company is great.
But the patrons can't always be great.
Probably not.
Actually, okay. I think I've shared this on the show before, but I used to be a regional manager when Hooters first started in Clearwater, Florida. There was a competitor called Melons. Go figure that name, right? I ran several of their restaurants, and we taught the culture of how they protected themselves. We taught them how to serve. We taught them how to defend. We taught them how to dialogue with these, what you would call patrons, as to how to fend. It was a learning cycle for them that they appreciated, because it really, you're dealing with attractive women that often don't know how to handle stupid men. And at that time, it was completely able to be biased. From that, Hooters has evolved to being what they are by brand, but not by culture. I'm not defending them. I still think that it's a biasness as to the perception of the service and the type of product. But what they've done is that they've really twisted it around to be in support of, to be fair, it's a halfway house between a strip club and regular life. It's a place where people that are trying to learn a skill that they don't have into a skill that they can make into something else. So whether that adds to the reason why they get the people that they do, but they have totally gone off of from being the place where there's cute girls in small clothing to a place that is burgers and joints by being served by people that are, because they have guys that are also working there now, but they've really tried to create some sort of support system. Again, not in defense of them, because I think it's a bygone era of having that type of business focus. It just is in existence because they've been able to find adaptive ways to dilute that messaging to be more of a broader perspective than what they originally started as. But at the end of the day, it's still attractive people dressed in small clothes.
No, even within our industry, though, you go back and think about trade shows of 10 years ago, and what did everybody have? And we referred to them like this. So please don't take offense by it, but we'd say there's booth babes, and that was a thing, right? Today you say that and you're like, wow, did we actually say that? And
for the record, Melissa, when Stuart was with you, we called him a booth babe, just so you know. We did call Stuart a booth babe, okay? Last high tech I was in, I said, there's booth babe. So yeah, it has diluted the message a little bit, but
Yeah.
I just went on the Hooters Facebook page, and even as of 2019, they had a swimwear pageant.
Sure, and a calendar.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending the methodology of this. I'm just saying that their existence is based on the fact of their adaptability. In answer to what you're saying, how are they still around? Is that they have diluted the focus to being more about supportive and equal opportunity and what have you as a response to this process. They've turned into the vanguard of, we understand where we started, but we're not that as much anymore as we are about all the things that we can do to help people. Whatever. The reality of it is, in time to come, it'll be a buggy whip.
You know what? I mean, I think it would be amazing if they embraced doing something to empower women. I mean, that would be so interesting if they said, we're providing education.
They do actually have that. They have scholarships. They have scholarships and stuff. They've done those things. Is it their focus? No.
Well, I think they embrace, if they could take on breastfeeding in public as a, that would, I could get on board with that. You know what I mean? Making that.
But also, to be fair,
see if they have one, because maybe they do, and I just don't know.
Now, here's the other thing to it. To be fair, the patrons that you refer to with the scrunchy face is also a lot of families now, and I kid you not. There's a lot of families.
I need another scrunchy face.
You did get a scrunchy face.
The chocolate cake is amazing.
You're bringing little Junior, to the restaurant, and the family, the wives, and everything else. It's a weird. How does that work, really? It's like it's kind of you kind of look at it. I do anyway. It's like if you brought your wife to a strip club, it's like, why? What? It's that if that is the culture that's there, why are you bringing your family to it? And it goes to what they're trying to focus on. They are a casual dining place that has good wings. They really do. They're good wings. And they got decent food, but it's bar food. Okay. But they have this, they were one of the earliest that had the sports bar culture. They were one of the very first that actually had a sports bar culture. So they have that base of that. They have that type of people coming into it, but they have so much more than that. It's kind of like a McDonald's in the sense of consistency. If you go to a Hooters, you have the Hooters wings, you have the Hooters food, there is an expectation that is consistent. That's the brand value. We talk about that all the time. So those things have kept it alive. I mean, I don't think they're growing by leaps and bounds. They did their airline thing. That didn't last very long and stuff. That goes back many years.
I flew Hooters there. I got to say, it was a great experience.
They tried it. Yeah, they tried it.
Didn't they have a hotel in Las Vegas for a while?
Great snacks.
Yes, there was a hotel. They've tried different things, but
They
can
do
we really
support breast
condemn?
cancer research. So I will go on record saying they do support breast cancer research.
They have broadened their perspective enough that, to answer your question, they have survived. I don't think the core of what they represent is in the long cycle of life for them. I think there will be whatever it becomes to be, more and more. I mean, I think they're going to get varying size of servers. They already have different male, female servers and so forth. They've already diluted that, but that physique requirement, in the sense, is still something that I think they haven't broached yet. That they have a variety of sizes, but I think they will. I think if to survive, they're going to have to. But look at all the places that have closed since they've been still open. TGI Fridays, Bennigan's. These places are closed, and they didn't have cute girls running around in tight clothes. They were supposed to be a brand neighborhood bar that didn't survive for a variety of reasons. Like too big of a
Teach
menu.
their own, but I will not take my son to Hooters so that they can see how to. I don't believe that's how you exemplify a female or a woman.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
And if you look on their Facebook page, it's only the pretty ones they show. So,
of course,
or whatever.
And okay, do not call the kettle black, because all of us as marketers turn to the demographics that we most want to personify for the branding and the product that we have. We can't call the kettle totally black on that one, because we do the same thing. Which I think is also a positive in our environment too, because as we allow more consumer related content into our marketing message, we are inherently bringing the diversification that it provides. That we're not just dealing with the cutesy models that look perfect on the beach at the perfect time with the perfect drink and the perfect background, that we are bringing in the family that brought their cooler on the beach with the blankets and the beach towels and the poopy diaper and everything else. And that's in a picture, and that's on our beach. We are allowing that diversification.
And
You
that's
know what?
why
I
love
can tell
Buffy.
you
I
for
know
sure.
it's not on, but
I can tell you for sure that when I look at something, if I want to see a gorgeous salt and pepper haired couple, or silvery haired couple, if everybody whose picture is, a teen or 20 something, it's not going to appeal to me. Right. And that's what happens a lot. I've had this experience myself in a hotel where, the influencers want to come and you've got some empty rooms, so you want to invite them. And then your Instagram is full of all these beautiful 20 somethings. And guess what? That's not really what our market looked like. Our market looked like 50s and 60s and 70s, to be honest. Mm-hmm.
But that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to remember. The bluntness of marketing is what you just described. I heard about this influencer thing. Let me get some influencers. And you find somebody that has enough audience that you think, oh, wow, they got 100,000 people that follow them. Ooh. And then you get these things of pictures of 20-year-olds in front of us. Look at me, how cool I am. And you're sitting there going, that's really not the person that, one, can afford that room. Too, so putting him into the top suite isn't really the whatever. But I think one of the best website designs I saw was the dynamic insertion of rich media or of images, that based on the information that you knew of the person coming to the site, they would show what you would like demographically in the website compared to me demographically to the website, compared to, by the way, I'm on the same salt and pepper mode of view, so probably the same pictures, but family versus not. Because if I went to a website that had nothing but family pictures, I'm thinking, do I really want to go to the pool with all the kids? I don't have kids. I don't want to be around kids. I'm not going on vacation to be around kids. That may not be the place for me. So a balancing of the mix, but you bring up
that's what your hotel is.
Then you need to be that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you need to show that to everybody. So if they don't want to be around kids,
then it has the effect you want it to. But seasonally, we know it changes. When it's not kid season, you're not that hotel. So you can't just have static images all the time about kids at your hotel if during school season, that's not what's happening, and you want them to show up in September and October, back in historical time cycles. I don't think it's the case this year, of where their kids aren't by the pool or the kids aren't on the beach, because you want the empty nesters and or families that don't have kids to be at your resort because you don't have them. So that sensitivity to timing of what you're doing messaging But going back to what I think is a really, really, really solid point that you made earlier, Adele, is that you want to see yourself in the imaging that you're being provided. That requires ethnicity variations, gender variations. If you're willing and wanting to have those people come to your resort, which you should, you need to have that. And I need to also add ADA special needs travelers considerations. You should have somebody that has physical mobility impairment, that you have that facility available to them. That if there is great services you're providing for visually impaired people, that you somehow represent that. Whatever it is, you should have proper quality representation of those demographics in your rich media, so that you make people know that this is something I can take care of, that we welcome those kind of people without having to say, I welcome the following people. Here's a picture. You can get the picture.
I've always been a real fan of CrowdRiff, which is a tool where you get picked up on any playtime somebody's tagged your hotel, and you can have on your weddings page all the brides that have tagged, and you can have it on your homepage, or just general. On your child-friendly page, you can have ones with kids. It's really nice, and they mostly focus on destinations. So it's also great because you can pull in pictures of New York or Colorado or wherever it is that you're from, and it's so helpful. But I have heard that now the rules have gotten much more challenging, that just because somebody tagged you doesn't mean that you automatically have approval to use them in the CrowdRiff, and you have to.
Yeah, that's where FlipTube is strong, because FlipTube does give you the permission-based platform to be able to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right in that sense.
But you have to ask for it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just because somebody, and we've had this discussion actually on Clubhouse earlier too, is that just because somebody publicly posts something doesn't mean that you can use it for business model. You can't say, oh, you posted that you were at our hotel and you got that sunset picture, we're going to use it for our business, because without express permission, you're violating privacy.
That's why Hyper went out of business. They were doing this big beta with Marriott, and then really quick, they found themselves out of business.
Yeah. And there are some plugins that can provide consumer information up to your website. But again, it's dangerous, because just because they published it and tagged your property doesn't mean you have the right to put it on your business page as representation of content. There's things like, so yes, you're absolutely right, Adele. If you're going to do that stuff, which is great stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great stuff. But yeah, you definitely got to get that, hey, by the way, we really loved your picture. Can we use it?
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, maybe 10% would even respond.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the percentage was, we really love this picture. And they just, I don't know, they just didn't respond so much. It was really disappointing for me. I feel like, I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think if I tag a business in my, I don't have a problem with them doing it. And I think that went too far. I hope they change that rule, because I think it's gone too far.
Well, I think probably the argument would be, and the only case I can think of is that if you look at the extreme circumstance, say for instance, you took the most beautiful picture that you were in, okay, that the property used, and they made $10 million off of it. You'd be sitting back going, that was my picture, and you got nothing for it. And you didn't even ask me you could use it. So where am I now? I'm flattered that you love my picture. I'm flattered that it did so well for you, but where's my money?
Well, I think it's a little bit different than if they used it, on a print ad or something. But if they just shared it on their website inside the CrowdRiff.
Okay, but think of it in reverse. Say they took your picture and they said, well, how come a goofy looking person is this, and we don't take these people at our hotel? You'd be like, whoa, what are you using my picture for and bashing me for? I mean, there's extremes to it, I guess, that with permission, because you can say, hey, I tagged the place, and they used it and said, this is the person we don't want here, and this is it. I'm being extreme, obviously, but you'd be like, what? Dang, where did I get all that hate from? But they're saying, hey, you tagged us, we could use it. It referred to us. Go ahead,
permission aside, should they at least do the courtesy of telling you? And I'll use a perfect case example of that. When we lived in Texas, my son was in elementary school, or actually this preschool, Grand Prairie Independent School District. And when you put your son in the school there, you sign these forms that say that if he gets his picture taken, they might put it on their website. So I knew I gave permission. But then one day I'm going and I'm looking at the Grand Prairie Independent School District website, and there he is on the front center page. It was like the home page of the website. Hey, that's a really cool picture. Maybe you could have told me, rather than just
Yeah.
Indeed. You know what? I used to take dance class when I was living in Manhattan. I would take some dance classes at the Alvin Ailey Extension. It's like a cathedral for dance, and real people can actually go and take dance classes there. And they always said, you're not allowed to take pictures of your class. Not everybody who is, in their tights or in their,
I don't look good in tights. I'm just saying. I don't look good in tights.
or their belly dancing gear or their African dance gear, whatever it is. Not everybody wants to be on your, Facebook in that particular sporty condition. But so, and yet people did it all the time.
Also too, a lot of times people are not aware of the laws associated with this, where, Dean, to your point, putting pictures of children on, no.
Oh yeah, that's not cool.
No, can't do. And yet, if they thought it was a great picture and that you could identify the child in the picture, that goes beyond the courtesy of letting the people know. That's like breaking the law,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So it's like, no.
That definitely always
allowing that.
requires permission.
Seeing how Ed and Stuart aren't here to poo-poo on me, there is a tool that I use called EditMate, which is it's a QR code that we made for, but it's a platform that is mobile-based. And we put it first to the teams at the hotels to share images. You heard me rant about this all the time, where at the property, a lot of people can take some great pictures of things that you, as the social media person for that property, often don't get. You're not everywhere at all places. So a bellman can get a great picture, or a front desk or whatever. They now have a place to put this through. They go to this app, they QR code it, so they can scan to their phone, and they go in and they say, "My name's Lauren. This is my email address. This is the picture of videos I can load up to 4, and this is what they were." And it sends it up into a library that then the social media person can look at and say, "Oh, that's a great picture. Let's use that." But it automatically, with the terms and conditions of the platform, allow us to use the images that are loaded up. So it solves that "do I have permission" thing, because it's being loaded. So we just started rolling this out for our guests on the little. I use a changing picture at the front desk that goes through all this stuff, and it shows, hey, you want to share some pictures of your travel experiences with us? Scan here, and this is the platform we use. If you want to share them, they'll go up here and we can use them with your permission. And we just now started that, and we're getting some, not a lot, to some, because we don't have, that they're loading pictures up of stuff. Now, I'll be honest with you, 2/3 of it we ain't ever going to use. I mean, picture of a room, we already have that, thanks. But there are some really cool pictures of people having fun at the pool, distance, and that's great, because we don't have a picture of people distance at the pool. So thank you. We're going to use that picture, but It's a neat platform. It's cheap.
I love it. It's called EditMate.
EditMate, EditMate.
Oh, EditMate. I love that. That's one of those features that I liked about Beekeeper. But that sounds simple to use. You know what? At my hotels, the housekeepers would love to always take a picture every time they made a really beautiful bed welcome, with rose petals and everything for a honeymoon couple or any kind of special occasion, because they knew that I gobbled those pictures up for social media. They were so much fun, and they really showed the spirit of the hotel. So they were always trying to outdo each other for creativity. And, and it's nice to appreciate them in that way too.
It's a shame. I wish there was a perfect mix of something that happened. There was one property we have that we've changed our relationship with, which we only handle aspects of their marketing now and not all of it, because they changed ownerships and they, of course, changed agencies and what have you. We still have things that we're doing for them, but one of the things was they're pet friendly, and we started an initiative which was really cool, where they have bandanas for the puppies, 2 sizes, because large and small, and little bowls with their logo on it, plastic bowls. That was a part of the value proposition of charging a pet fee, which we really vanguarded for them to try to do. Plus, they get treats at the front desk, and there's treats in the little shop and stuff. And what happened was, it was an Instagram moment for a lot of people, where they would post that stuff up. problem was we had to go through, as we just talked about, the extra stage of, hi, that's an awesome picture. Can we use it? I wish I had this platform when was doing that, because it'd be like, hey, that's an awesome picture. Can you put it here? Because it'd be like, then we can use it straight up, because it really helped a lot where they're posting pictures, because look what we got. And then for us, it's a whole residual branding, because it's little dog bowl that has our logo on it, and they're going to use it at home because they're going to brag about it with their friends. Oh yeah, we got that over when we stayed at such and such, So it's a win for everything. And I just wish I had put this, or I had this when we were doing that for them, because it'd been like, wow, we'd be able to get some cool pictures that we didn't have to keep asking for. So
There's nothing better for social media than cute doggy pictures.
or videos. Where's my puppy? Come on. Where is it? All of us bring our pets up. It'd be pet day. No,
I can arrange for that.
yeah. You have the big dogs, Dean. Hey,
Isn't he the cutest?
cute. No, I'm biased. That is incredibly cute. But I have the cutest puppy in the universe. But anyway, all right. Well, we were all over the place with some of the stuff. We started with Google and Stephanie's T-shirt and went from there. There he is. Happy puppy. Was there any? I mean, news-wise, Robert, of course, already warned us on the tinfoil hat that he wasn't able to get the newsletter out for us, and I don't have the heart to tell him that's okay.
Yeah, you know what? The news story that's on my mind at the moment is New York. Two things. Number one, supposedly New York is open for business and open for tourism July 1st, whatever that means. I don't know whether that means, I really don't know if that means that there's just no restrictions as to, quarantining or anything like that, but that's what I heard. And number two, what on earth is this about? That you have to, if you want to open a hotel in New York, you have to have it approved by the mayor and city council. Oh my dear. Oh my dear.
I think the second half one, from what I understand from what I'm talking with, is because so many hotels closed, in Midtown especially, I should say, that for them to open up for density of occupancy, they have to get approved that they're not in a, the union's involved with this too. So I don't know all the detail of that.
That's
The
what
union's
it's about.
involved into the ability for a hotel to open has to reach a qualifier for them for staffing, and also the city to approve the density of occupancy. And they're making them jump through a bunch of hoops, to your point. They're making them through a bunch of hoops to it. And yes, because here in Florida, we've been open for business the whole time. And I've despised it, to be honest with you, because I think it only put us in jeopardy, because our numbers are artificially created because people may get sick and leave the state because they're here as tourists. And so we don't get the number impact. But all said and saying, beach hotels down here are, if you own a beach hotel, more power to you, man. They're full 7 days a week, nonstop. The problem that they're having too is there's just no staff. There's restaurants down here that are closing 2 days out of the week simply to give their team, their crew, rest.
Good for them.
The only way that they're able to give them time off is to literally close the restaurant. Even though I see them, because I live by a bunch of them when I walk our dog, people show up thinking that it's open, because it usually is. But they just don't have enough people to run 7 days a week, and they can't find people. And it's really amazing. And the hotels down here, the same thing. The beachfront hotels, the Fort Myers beach places and stuff like this, they're just pissing people off. People are showing up. The rooms aren't getting cleaned. They're showing up to be checked in, and they're waiting all day before the room gets cleaned before they can get into it. And even then, it's like you're questioning whether it was actually cleaned, if there's still stuff in the bathroom. There's stuff that are making the local news features. Let's put it that way. And all they're being told is, "Oh yeah, your room is not ready. Just go out to the beach." The service level is abysmal. It's not even when you put in the classification of service, let alone hospitality. I
wonder if that getting permission from the mayor thing, I want to go back to that. I wonder if that, especially in New York, where you've got the unions are a big thing, I wonder if that is to stem some of the progress of Airbnb. Because in New York too, you've got people that have Airbnb buildings for all practical purposes.
Superhost.
And I wonder if that kind of pushes that down a little bit.
How many non-union hotels will open up under those circumstances?
I I don't think they can. I don't think they
Right.
can. I think that if any hotel is going to want to open up as a hotel, because that might also be, as you bring that up, Dean, it might be an interesting point because a lot of hotels are not reopening as hotels. They're opening up as condos. They're opening up as something else, whatever that may be.
Apart hotels.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, the New York Hotel Association, which I know, yeah, they're pretty powerful, and they might have an influence on saying that this is a way of governing the reintroduction of accommodations in the metro area. Because, yeah, to your point, it might be really easy for somebody to say, screw it, I'm not going to be a hotel, but I will be a wonderful Airbnb in Midtown.
Yeah.
Because basically the facilities are the same, and I'll just do a different medium of selling it. So, yeah, maybe it is a way of regulating that. I don't know. We'll have to look more into it. Adele, that's your home turf. So I'm
Follow
sure you
the
know more
money
about it.
to who donates to the mayor's campaign.
The mayor's keep me alive in office because I'm screwed up fund. That one? Yeah, okay. It is amazing how politics have become so pervasive in our business operations. I have to say, I've never been so politically attuned. I mean, Holly is the apex of that, just for those who follow Holly. She is on the extreme of attentiveness to politics. And then I'm somewhere down the scope, and then there's the I don't really care people on the other side. But it is amazing how politics have such a strong influence now on business choices that we didn't realize until we see it in the news so much. And of course, people have such a strong opinion on so many different aspects of it, I guess. But anyway, with that being said, was there of any context of anything else that we may have not have discussed that we wanted to make sure we talked about today, since it's kind of a free-for-all?
I just want to throw out there, I've got both my shots, so I'm going to be in Atlanta during Hunter Conference, and then so if anybody will be there in Atlanta, whether you're going to Hunter Conference or not, then I would love to meet up because I'm going to give everybody hugs and handshakes.
Oh, I'm going to dress up as a bear at High Tech, just so you know, bear hugs, bear hugs. I'm probably not going to go to a single session if I can make it out there. I'm just going to be out there going like, hey, just hug everybody. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's
Don't
like,
squash people though. We still need them.
yeah, just squeeze a little bit jeepers out of them. But yes, I think I'm targeting High Tech as my first, and because it's in Dallas. I have clients in Dallas. We have friends in Dallas. We used to live in Dallas. So we'd spend, and my wife doesn't want me to fly yet. So we're probably going to drive out because we'll bring the puppy with us. So it'll be a few days out. It'll be a few of the week there, a few days more afterwards, maybe on the way back. But I really think that if any benchmark of a big conference for hospitality, I think High Tech has that potential because it is in September. Hopefully by then we'll have a better perspective as to what we can and can't do. I don't know if anybody watched the draft last night, but dang, that was incredible. Yeah, whole first round.
So many people.
Oh my God, it was amazing. I'm sitting there at first. My normal 1 year in reaction is like, oh, how dare they? And I'm like, oh no, how cool, just to be able to be in that group environment thing. But yeah, we had to watch the whole first round because as a Buccaneer fan, we were last in the first round.
I'm glad you're optimistic about High Tech because I feel like there's no way they're going to be able to get that exhibit hall filled like they have in the past.
I don't know. I think they might.
Yeah, I
don't. Don't forget, you've got a HOA in August too.
Well, I mean, because
Yeah.
High Tech happens at the same time as HSMI marketing and HSMI
Right.
revenue management. So I think,
Right.
but I mean, there's at least when I've gone to both in the past, there's been like almost no overlap. And I feel like there's a lot of vendors still hurting that aren't going to be like, yeah, let me drop 20 grand for a booth again this year. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think they'll go for 20 grand. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Melissa, do you think you guys would normally get a booth at High Tech previously, right?
Yes, we have been at High Tech previously. I don't know what's being planned right now.
Right. Well, here's a possible prediction I have. I agree with you on the skepticism of actual expensive participation in High Tech. I think there is going to be this, okay, are we financially confident enough to drop that kind of coin
Yeah.
for 10-foot square? Okay. Plus pay,
That's where they make their money at High Tech is the booths, right? I mean,
right. But I think with the collaboration of the HSMI stuff, and yes, there is an overlap actually. I was always irritated that Rock got dropped in on High Tech, and it overlapped one of the days that I would normally be booth hopping, because I thought it was like, wow, because I think Stuart was complaining about it, where you had to drop a large amount of money to be at High Tech. You wanted the audience at the Rock, but that was another booth drop, and you couldn't staff both also without having to spend all. So it really was a thanks for the either or. I think Ed dropped out completely because he was tired of the conflict of which way do I go or whatever, and just attend. Go ahead, Seth.
Well, I was gonna say the other caveat is the lodging conference is at the same time.
Yeah, and that is a dilution. I agree with you.
Not a good planning on somebody's part.
I think also there is the possibility that we have become adaptive in some things. I used to do this as a coach, but I used to go over and just social fence the conferences and tell people to meet me at a bar off the press. And just have, I wouldn't be paying for a booth, but I do business. So I think there's just saying, I don't know who does this stuff, but marketing skills on the dark side. But there are plenty of venues around the venue and plenty of opportunities for the duration of it that you could probably create sub areas of not having to pay for the square footage on the floor, but still get the benefit of the attendance in the market. I think there's that possibility, because with how people are more comfortable with this kind of dialogues, there's also the fact that you can just, again, poach the location and connect the dots. So not that I was planning on doing it much or a lot, whatever, but just saying.
Well, just the fact that we know most of the people that we want to talk to who are going to be there. Look, I don't need a registration list to know that you're going to be there.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren, let's meet up.
I'm thinking a keg in the corner, and I'm good for population. But yes, it's going to be interesting because for the draft last night, the surge of that number of people, was impressive. I don't remember any time that they've done the draft to having that density of a general population outside of the venue. I know they did an open air venue and stuff, so people could kind of, see some of the stuff to it. But that was like a major event. I don't know what the numbers were that they had of it, but that was a
lot of people.
Yeah, and it's Cleveland, and nothing against Cleveland, but that's a huge turnout for a city. I would see that as New York thing, maybe, or an LA thing, or Dallas thing, or Houston. That was Cleveland, and there was six-figure numbers of people in the general population, and that doesn't include everybody that was actually in the event itself. I thought it was pretty cool. They also brought up people from each of the teams to go over and see who got drafted first in his chair before they got. I thought it was a nice touch. I love how the fact they always boo him when he gets on. It's kind of like a tradition. But yeah, it's and Belichick, lucky little bastard, man, just sat there and waited for the quarterback to land in his lap. Come on. It's just sitting there going, dang. Anyway, that's football stuff. Anyway, so yes, I think of anybody that's planning conferences in a first person sense, there is the potential of massive growth. But I think the only variation is to whether or not we don't talk about this because we're biased in the U.S. What's happening in India is a sheer, flat out tragedy of epic proportions that we don't even know the true numbers of this stuff yet. We know it's underestimated because
Google. Just Google COVID-19 stats, and Google gives you a nice little line graph, and by default it'll show United States. It'll show new cases and deaths. Change that default to worldwide and look at the difference. It is stunning.
Yeah.
Worldwide, it's still going up, folks.
Yeah, yeah, and I have clients in Canada, and they joke, but it's a serious joke, if you know what I mean, that we are hoarding because we bought everything. Vaccinations, and we're still trying to struggle for people to take the vaccines, but we're sitting on 3 times the population worth of vaccines, and it's like Canada's waiting for their 1 plane a day.
We need to give it away. You know what? My husband just went to the Walgreens, and there was nobody online, and they were saying, "Hey, don't you want to get your vaccine?" And he goes, "I've already gotten both shots." There was nobody there to give it to.
Right.
Give it to Canada, give it to Mexico, give it to someplace that needs it so badly.
Yeah, Canada's in their what they call their breaker, which is they flip the switch that no distance travel, stay only in your living environment, and if it's essential travel, you have to prove it. They actually have roadblocks that
Wow.
they have, and they fine people serious money if you try to go outside your zone without legitimate reason. And there is no travel, there is no transient, and the border is locked down until towards the end of May. They're hoping to have 40 to 60% vaccination rate. Everybody's waiting for they have no issue about anybody not wanting to take the vaccine. It's a matter of supply for the vaccine, and the border staying closed and the business effect from it simply because of lack of vaccinations for it. EU's the same way, same stuff. And yet we're sitting on 3 times the load. And it's like India, we're sending over a few hundred oxygen tanks and respirators. Like, you look at the numbers, just the tragedy. I mean, I watch BBC News because I always want that outside the U.S. perspective in some ways. It is I mean, where I have to stop watching it. The tragedy of people, no place to go. There's
I
no
saw a
place
thing
to
on
help.
TV the other day of mass cremations in the square in a city square. They had just sectioned off a city block, and they were burning bodies in it.
Yeah, because they have no place else. Just
It was like,
the,
oh
the
my-
funeral pyres, literally
Yeah.
biblical funeral
Yes.
pyres of cities that are burning because there's no people going to hospitals that have no room, no capacity, no facilities, and the black market can't even get the stuff that they would extort people from. They can't get oxygen tanks, they can't get respirators, they can't get any of this stuff. It's the second largest populated country in the world by massive amounts, and the numbers they're only accounting people according to hospitals. They're not counting all the people that die that the hospitals don't account for. So they're saying that it's even underestimated by at least twice as much of what is actually happening, and it's not even hitting our news on a regular basis. That's the biasness of that.
No, that's very true. You watch the international news like BBC, you'd be amazed how different the news is.
Oh yeah, it is true. Not to keep going down on top of it down, but just I talked to Lily and I asked for permission on this. Lily's mom, Julie, who's a remarkable person for the times I've engaged with her, was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, given a very, very, very short, as in days, time to live. And she did put up I think a GoFundMe, just because this is not a financial thing that most people are prepared for. I will share the link in the show notes for anybody interested in that. It's hard to, I mean, I kind of equate it to you're sitting on the earth and watching the meteoroid come down on your head. You know that it's going to happen, just how do you deal with that in the short term that you have? And it's not just the duration of time, then all of a sudden everything goes up. There's a degradation that goes on from all this. And you hate when you know somebody that does this, this happens, but knowing that person, it makes it, and I'm not close to her. I engage with her because I do the podcast with Lily. So Julie's the one that sends the information up, and we go back and forth. And we have a running joke that if I run late loading it, she gives me crap. And it's just, the person in some way. And then to know that this is happening to him, mortality is a bitch when it's real and not how we often treat it, where it's like, oh yeah, we're all going to die. It's easy to say. It's when you know that it's going to happen in a certain way, that changes the world. So just thoughts and prayers for her in that sense, that's happening. And like I said, I'll put the link for if anybody feels inclined to help with that. I know she's one of many. The world's full of it. We just talked about India. Just sometimes one person can. I mean, I love the Good News Network. I love, if anything that came out of COVID that I've thoroughly been happy about is the Good News Network. I don't know. I love the premise of it. I love what it's done, and I love its consistency. I know it got sold off to ABC and all this other stuff, but I still love that they do it and they still focus on just good news.
I haven't heard of this. What is that? A Googleable term? Good News Network?
Yeah. You don't know a Good News Network?
No.
But
I'm very interested.
Oh, it is. Who's the guy from The Office?
Office.
Who's the guy
John
The guy
Krasinski.
in the office.
He started it out of his home as a podcast or as a video thing. Hundreds of thousands of people followed. He did it all. His daughter created the logo with crayons, and just focused on good news. And then he got a lot of famous people involved that would be a part of it. Like the weather forecast with Brad Pitt or something. Yep, it's nice outside. Just funny stuff that made you smile. And now it got so popular. They got millions of followers and so forth. They sold it to ABC so they could bring it into a larger audience. He does stuff every once in a while, but it went around the world. A lot of countries created their own Good News Network chapter or whatever, and they did good news for their country. And
That's beautiful.
it was just an awesome thing. It's still awesome, and I keep it in the Facebook feed and stuff. It brightens my day, you know. And that's the other thing too. I think from a news perspective, they realized there was so much bad news. It was good to have some good news. So a lot of news agencies I've found have added their feel good stories at the end. I like that. I wish there was more of it. I wish that actually would dominate more of the news. But the fact that they're even just doing that, I think is a good positive out of this past year as well, that they realize reporting the news doesn't always have to be tragedy and pain. It unfortunately is, but the fact that they add more stuff to it makes it pretty cool. So, yeah.
Coming from New York to Charleston, now the news that I watch has how the high school baseball team did.
Hey, yeah, it's tomorrow brings up the fact of Hamilton. That I never say his name right, but he is brilliant. I mean,
Lin-Manuel.
And Miranda, yeah. So here's the thing. I didn't realize it at the time, but in 2020, before COVID worked in March, I was at the digital marketing conference, and Jenny from Thiessen from HSMAI said she just scored in the lottery 2 tickets to Hamilton that night. And I bailed on everybody that night because I was having a cocktail hour. Yes, thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, I know you're. Yeah, thanks for hosting that while I was gone. And I have a picture of Jenny and I with the stage behind us, just beaming, like, look where we are. You know what I mean? Who would have thunk that was the last thing before everything unraveled? You know what I mean? That's one of my most cherished pictures. Is look what I got. I mean, I got to go see Hamilton in person, you know, in Broadway. And it was my first Broadway show I ever went to in person. So my first Broadway show was Hamilton in person. And then all of a sudden,
that was a good place to start.
Right? It's like everything else is going to be like, it wasn't Hamilton. You know, I'm just, but then of course, watching it when they put it on TV was a blast too, because then I got to see the original characters do it. No deference to the original cast. I liked the cast I saw because I saw them in person. I thought there was there were certain characters in the cast that I saw that I'm like, I think they did a better job, you know, compared to the original cast from Hamilton. But it's amazing those little snapshots that we have in our history of this stuff. And again, just to tie it to what we do this for, marketing is about that. We need to tie what we're talking about is to bringing back those feelings of what people enjoyed prior to what we went through under the perspective of what they are looking forward to. And it's not about us selling something. It's about us sharing the possibility of an experience. And bad marketers are just throwing out rates and dates, and they're blind or oblivious to whatever it is they're doing. And good marketers are bringing back what it is that people are interested in a way that they want to know more about, which unfortunately I'm seeing we can talk about this another time, but a big polarity of evil marketers and good marketers, or bad marketers or good marketers, because they're just, some people are just dusting off what they were doing prior to COVID and turning it back on, and it's tone deaf. It's just, there's no relevant value to what they're promoting out there at this time. So anyway, well,
I have to run. So it was,
we're good. We're there.
It's been a while, so.
Hey, thanks for popping in. It's been a while in that sense. I mean, you've been busy as heck and hiring new people and beating them down, demoralizing them into submission. I appreciate that. It's all good.
Do what you have to do.
All right. So with that in mind, we'll start with the ladies first. Melissa, if people want to know more about you, where is it they can find you? And of course, your award-winning podcast and all that kind of cool stuff.
You can find everything about fueloffueltravel.com, including the podcast. If you want to connect with me, I am on LinkedIn and on Clubhouse at Melissa Cavanaugh with a K, no U.
Adele, for those who want to know more about you, what do you do? Where they can find you? Oh, your audio. You muted. There he is.
My dog was barking. Can you hear me now? My
There we
dog
go.
was barking. I had to turn it off. You can find me on AdeleGutman.com. And I'm going to put a link in the notes because I want everybody to be able to see my podcast episodes with links to the podcast that I mentioned with Christine Trippi and all the other wonderful guests that I've had on the show. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Yep. Stephanie, for World Peace, World Hunger Solutions, and all that kind of stuff, where can they find you?
Lofty goals. Stephanie Smith, cogwheelmarketing.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Stephanie Sparks Smith. And hopefully in Atlanta in 2 weeks if you're so inclined. So let me know.
You gotta share pictures. You gotta do that whole envious thing. Look at me, not you. Look at this.
Oh, I'm
Where am
gonna
I?
I'm gonna maximize it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Especially considering the flights that I just bought flights to Atlanta and Dallas, and they were astronomical. And I was
Ooh.
like, why am I paying $600 for flights to go to major markets right now? What?
Whoa. Wow.
Ouch.
I
Wow.
did not like that. But
Maybe they had to buy lumber.
and car rentals too. I'm trying to get a car in Dallas. I can't find one cheaper than $65 a day in Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Get off airport and get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane that the whole thing about rent a cars. Yeah, down here there is no rent a cars. People are showing up as preferred members and they're not getting rent a cars, even though they were promised or reserved one. They don't have them. It's insane. Mr. Dean, for all things amazingly wonderful that you do, where is it they can find you?
Oh, well, and actually, speaking of world hunger, I'm in the Midwest here, and so it's lunchtime right about now. And but yes, you can find me basecampmeta.com, metasearchmarketing.com. All your educational needs if you need to learn about what the blazes is this MetaSearch thing, or if you just need somebody to run that campaign for you, or if you're a small hotel that nobody else would talk to about running MetaSearch, I can help you with all those things.
Perfect. Well, for anyone that wants to play back this amazingly fun show and all previous 298, we will be on number 300 next week, and we will have a guest host with us
Number
next week, as a matter of
300.
fact. Yeah, we're clicking over to the threes, which only means more editing work for me, but that's just another story.
Carrie? It's gonna be Carrie?
Huh?
Carrie?
Carrie. Yeah, Carrie's going to be with us
Carrie.
next week. Yep, Carrie's with us next week.
Brave host. Brave guest.
Yep, it'll be fun. It'll be enjoyable. Please all come in and ask intelligent questions so we all look smart. But we had a pleasant conversation with her, and she's really excited to be joining us next week. And what better than to have a 300 than to have a special guest host? So it works out well.
Fantastic.
But you can get the previous
Lauren?
episodes. Huh?
I said, Lauren, where can they find you?
Oh, me, hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live for this and all the other shows, plus the podcast. Plus, if you're interested in Clubhouse and you're an iOS member, because we're snobbish like that, you can get the Clubhouse app and join us at noon, Monday through Thursday, where we do this same kind of stuff, only in audio. And
Noon
I
Eastern,
sound much better than I look. Huh?
If you need
No
an invite,
Eastern.
I've got some.
Yeah, I got invites too. Yeah, please. Yeah, it just the only
Yeah.
thing about weird is when you have to ask people for their phone number. Like, yeah, I need your
Yeah.
phone number. Like, what? But you need their phone number to go over and send the invite. So, I promise not to keep it and put it in my custom audience file or anything like that. But with that in mind, thank you everyone for spending the time. I always enjoy the conversation tremendously. Look forward to everyone next week and 11:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time Friday. And of course, we simulcast this on Wednesday for Sydney and London times. So anyway, thank you everyone, and we will see everyone hopefully next week.
Take care.
Thank you.